Hi, Vancouver Opera. My name is Luka Kawabata, and I am so fortunate to be here with my friend Brent MacKenzie, who is an amazing tenor and in our Vancouver Opera chorus this season. Hello, Brent.
Hello, Luca.
How's it going?
Really well. I'm really excited to be in in Magic Flute. It's just we already had rehearsals for a couple of days, and it's going very well. Les is very happy. Tina's very happy, and it's very fun to be involved with all these wonderful singers.
Well, it's a classic opera too, so I feel like it's fun for everybody. There's magic. There are some superhuman people and a lot of fun for the chorus. So I know that you're not originally from Vancouver, but maybe we can give our viewers a little glimpse into your path and how life brought you to Vancouver Opera.
Sure. So I'm from a very small town called Longview, Washington State. And then I moved up here to go to the University of British Columbia when I was 18, and I've never left since then. So it was so lovely. I met my now wife. I met in my first year at UBC, and then we got married last year. So it's pretty nice to have a family up here in Canada, and working on getting citizenship. Have my permanent residency right now. But yeah, I love Vancouver. I love being here. The vibe and the culture and the art scene is so great. Not to mention, the breweries. The Northwest breweries are pretty hard to beat. So that's always another pro of staying up here on the North Shore. I did my first production with Vancouver Opera in the spring of last year, which was Flying Dutchman. And now I'm back for all the shows this year. So I'll be here for Magic Flute and Don Pasquale and Carmen, and I'm very excited to be on board with this.
Amazing. So you'll be a very familiar face by the end of the 2023-24 season to all of our viewers and all of our community. As someone who's not from Vancouver, what advice would you give to someone who is looking to visit or move to Vancouver?
I'd say to definitely take advantage of the arts. Just to see there's so much. There's Bard on the Beach during the summer, which is really fun. We just saw Goblin Macbeth there, which was, I had no expectations. I didn't know what. I just thought this looks absolutely bizarre, and it was so fun. So there's always some, a lot of kind of the small arts, which is so different too than you can get in other cities. I go to Boston a fair amount. My brother lives there, and they're another city that has a lot of kind of quirky things that it's different than what a huge company might be doing every time. And it's all over the place. You get the opera, you've got the Bard on the Beach, and these little productions. City Opera Vancouver. And the other thing I think is to really take advantage when you see it stop raining to go, I'm going to go out and enjoy this wonderful, wonderful hiking environment and everything while I can. Not that it's too bad with the rain too, but while it's sunny, it's certainly that'll draw you back for sure.
I always notice that, or I'll say I feel like there's a personality shift in Vancouver when the sun comes out, and we're known for our rain, but I always try to inform people how much sun there is in the summer too, and how much people take advantage of that in the summer too. You mentioned Bard on the Beach, and growing up in Vancouver, I always I associate Bard on the Beach with summer. Would you say summer is your favorite month in Vancouver?
I would definitely say that. I always love the summer. I love when I visit places that are warm, and I think, it'd be nice to be here, but then you miss the seasons. I think if it's always one thing, it makes it that much more special in Vancouver when it's sunny and warm, and there's so much wonderful stuff to go around and do, and you appreciate it so much. It's so beautiful, and plus the forests, and I'm living in North Van. We have all these wonderful little local parks to just hop out to for a day, and a lot of places that's kind of inaccessible, unfortunately. So it's so great to have that nearby, even if it's just sprinkling. Or pouring rain. Okay, we'll admit it. We all go out in the pouring rain, and we're just like, what? It's Vancouver. It's fine.
I feel like you have some suggestions in mind or some recommendations for day trips on the North Shore?
Yes. So Capilano Suspension Bridge, but there's also the Lynn Headwaters, and that's actually more of my favorites. A little less, of course, I'll say that on here, and then suddenly everyone will be there, but a little less crowded sometimes. But also, very nice hikes around there. I'm in Lynn Valley too, so you get the Lynn Loop Trail, which is a nice, goes all the way around. Well, then out to West Van too. There's along the Ambleside to walk along on the beach, and that's always fun. And speaking of kind of events, the Harmony Arts Festival that happens in the summer too. That's always really fun with entertainment and artwork and food and everything on the beach. It's always really fun to go to too.
Amazing. So you mentioned that you just got married, or just over a year ago, was that?
Mm-hmm.
How would you say that you personally balance life as a performer with life of Brent, not associated with music or art?
It's a fun balance because I think, like this week, it's been really nice. My wife was out to work and then she came home and we had a quick dinner, and then I take the car and I'd go. But I think, it is kind of opposite schedules a lot of time, where if you're working a typical kind of a day, 9 to 5, you're kind of, opposite during that. But I think you really appreciate the time you do get to spend together, and you don't take that for granted. That and plus it's so nice to have that. My wife's family is going to be all coming to the show, and so that's always nice to know you've got some people in your corner rooting for you. But I'm very fortunate. My wife's always been very supportive. And when I'm going, okay, it's the weekend, I'm going to go out to coach with somebody, out in Surrey, and just okay, well, have fun, and we'll see you when you get back. So it's different, but I think it's very rewarding to have that that mixture, and to have both, and once there are times when you're performing and you're just going, oh, I'm just banging my head against this wall. Why are these notes, not coming? And then you can go, you know what? I can just set this down for a little bit, go spend some time with my, my wife and the cats, and then come back to it with a fresh head, and it works out great.
This is a shout out and endorsement to all the supportive arts partners out there and all that they do for our community as well. But it's interesting that you touch on that, because it is a roller coaster of balance all the time. How would you say that you stay motivated in navigating that?
I think I haven't had too hard a problem with the motivation, because I just, I know I couldn't do without the singing. It's such a part of my life and something that means so much to me. And likewise with my wife, I there's both of them are so important in my life. It's nice again with my wife being supportive in that. When I'm just locking myself in the room and singing for a long time, and she's just kind of doesn't really mind. She's able to just kind of do it. But I think having that the support, and always knowing I always go back for me. What really got me into opera in the first place, I was hoping to do into musical theater when I was in high school. I'd sung the lead in a few musicals, and my teacher at the time gave me just a bunch of CDs and said, here, just listen to some people. And at that time, I was singing baritone, and then I went to a competition. They said, I think you should consider trying to be tenor. And I was just like, oh, I don't like the way tenors sound. And one of the CDs was Franco Corelli, and I was just listening. I was like, this guy can't be a tenor. He sounds so different, But that was another thing, just finding that different kind of music, with opera. I think when I first had started listening to opera, it wasn't, as much as I love Mozart and some of the lighter works, it wasn't what really got me into it. It was, I saw, I think the first production where I actually went, oh my God, I would love to do this, was I saw a friend took me to Pagliacci at Portland Opera when I was in high school. And I remember, I didn't know the opera at the time. I hadn't heard it before. It was, I'm sure it was during Vesti la Giuba, and I'm just like sitting there going, and I went, that's it. Like I could imagine doing that. And that's part of the motivation, is to try and get that, to be able to have that experience, which is really every time, in the chorus too, every time you're on stage and singing, and you can feel the audience being reactive, even though you're not standing and clapping during the middle of arias, but you can tell when it's really hitting home. And that's part of the motivation, is even for small gatherings, when you can feel people really feel the music. And that's part of the motivation too. It's just even with my wife, where she goes, wow, that sounded really good, to hear people reacting to it. That's and it's so nice now that we're back to live performances. A rough couple of years there where you didn't have that. Rough for audiences, but rough more so I think performers, because you can feel that exchange, the silent exchange of that kind of passion and appreciation for the music. That's really what I think keeps a lot of it going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's so many shared sentiments that everyone in the audience, the digital audience, is nodding their head saying, yes, absolutely. You mentioned Pagliacci, and first thing that came to mind when you said that was that I think that's a great first opera for people, because not only is it in Italian, which people associate with opera, but it has high impact, has clowns, and it's short. So people can get in, understand what it is, and get out.
And I think it's such a tight opera musically. There's not. It's one of the operas that I think is a perfect standard of. There's not really any filler time where you have to kind of almost wait for the plot to build back up, and you can kind of feel it before they can climax again. It's just every scene is just right there. You're just in it the whole time. And again, an hour. It's pretty spectacular to have people do that. I wish almost though they didn't double bill it so often, because I think that almost takes away the accessibility, where you're like, oh, it's only an hour, but we've partnered with this other hour long, and it's sometimes not as easy, especially for newcomers, to get into the so.
Do you have a favorite role, or a dream role, or a dream opera that you would like to see in your future?
I have so many of those. I don't know how I can list them all out. Some of the dream, well, Canio would be a dream role. That might not be in the cards, because that's a little bit heavy. But there's so many dream operas and dreams. A more would be more accessible in the near future. Would be like La Traviata, is one that's so beautiful. Again, dream roles, it's again tough. Cavaradossi would be another one that's and speaking of another tight, really musically tight opera, I think Tosca is one that has so much. There's not a dull moment. We just had the pleasure of seeing it at the Arena di Verona. We were just in Italy, and it was spectacular. So that's one where I can always just, please, one day,
I feel like you speak about opera in such an eloquent way. Can you give us a glimpse into what it feels like to be standing on stage and singing to an audience like in the Queen Elizabeth Theatre? It's
really like nothing else, and I think it's such an experience that, of course, I just want to keep coming back to do it. But the anticipation to whether or not you've got the orchestra playing before you have your first moment there, that almost silence where you could feel a pin drop of just anticipation of everyone. And some people are newcomers, but a lot of people coming will know that show by heart, so they're just when you're waiting and there's that high C coming up and everyone's just on the edge of their seat, or even for a chorus moment where everyone goes, oh, I can't wait to hear, for in this opera, oh, Jesus, and you're going, oh, everyone's just waiting for that. You're like, oh, it's just, I'm waiting for this. I'm receptive to let this melt my soul, So on stage, you can just feel that, and you have that sort of, I don't want to say burden, because that has a negative connotation, but you have that kind of responsibility that, in prepping for this show, it's not just because you say, well, I don't want anyone to know I didn't, you got to show that those people out there are waiting because they're waiting to be, awed by this moment. So it's really a bit of kind of nerves still for me, even though it's good nerves, it's that kind of, anticipatory energy, but it's so unique. There's nothing I've ever had really like it, because again, it's such a collaboration of the energy of everyone. It's not like even for a recital, to do a recital, as much as it's fun to do a piano recital, something about the full orchestra, the full cast, the full audience, everything just comes together, this incredible energy that I think it's really palpable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I feel like I'm hearing from you a lot is the fact that with opera, it's an ongoing relationship, and the more time that you get to spend with a piece, with a role, the more you uncover the layers and the more you you live with it and understand it. Would you say that's true?
I'd say for sure. And I think another beauty with looking at some of these pieces I've sung, for years, it changes with you the way you interpret it. Not that the music is the same on the page, but you have different lived experiences. You've worked on these techniques. You might go, this is the way that it works, and you might be thinking, oh, I'm imitating sort of what this person does, and then later you go, you know what, I'm going to do this completely differently, and it's fun because you can hear people talk about it when they talk about their favorite recordings and go, oh, well, actually in this recording, he holds the high C for a beat and a half longer, and I far prefer that. And you're like, well, that's wonderful, but also it's so cool that it's not just, a copy and paste every time. You hear these performers, the same performer. When people say, oh, I listened to this person do it this way, you're like, well, which recording? Like, what? And, like, which conductor and which orchestra and what theater and all of those factors. It's such a collaboration. That's the part that the idea of kind of divas, of being single-handedly changing things. Well, it's still a collaboration. Even then, you have to have these wonderful coming together of all these different experiences. I think that's my favorite part about singing in a theater. And being the chorus too, it's such a fun collaboration to have that process and the rehearsal process too, and the give and take that has to happen for that art to really come together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the fleeting magic of live performance too. Mm. Yeah. Well, I am so excited to see you in The Magic Flute, which is opening soon at Vancouver Opera at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre. And I want to thank you again, Brent, for chatting with us. It's so great to give our community and our audience a little glimpse into the amazing people that make up our Vancouver Opera community. So thanks so much, and we will see you at The Magic Flute.
Thanks, Luka.